The history of Colombia is a powerful narrative of ancient civilizations, colonial wealth, political division, prolonged conflict, and gradual transformation. Located at the crossroads of Central and South America with coastlines on both the Pacific Ocean and the Caribbean Sea, Colombia has long held strategic importance in regional and global history. Before European contact, Colombia was home to advanced indigenous societies such as the Tairona, Muisca, and Quimbaya. The Tairona built impressive mountain cities, including what is now known as Ciudad Perdida. The Muisca Confederation, located in the Andean highlands, developed complex political systems and became famous for their gold craftsmanship. Their ritual at Lake Guatavita, where a ruler covered in gold dust made offerings, gave rise to the enduring legend of El Dorado, which later attracted Spanish explorers. Spanish conquest began in the early 16th century, and by the 1530s the region was incorporated into the Viceroyalty of New Granada. Colonial Colombia became an important center of gold mining and trade. The port city of Cartagena grew into one of Spain's most fortified cities in the Americas and a major hub in the transatlantic slave trade. Colonial society was rigidly stratified by race and birthplace, with Spanish-born elites at the top and indigenous and enslaved African populations at the bottom. These inequalities would shape Colombian society for centuries. The independence movement gained momentum in the early 19th century. In 1819, revolutionary forces led by Simón Bolívar secured victory at the Battle of Boyacá, effectively liberating the region from Spanish control. Bolívar then created Gran Colombia, a vast republic that included modern Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, and Panama. However, political disagreements over centralization and regional autonomy led to the federation's collapse by 1830, ushering in decades of instability. The independence movement gained momentum in the early 19th century. In 1819, revolutionary forces led by Simón Bolívar secured victory at the Battle of Boyacá, effectively liberating the region from Spanish control. Bolívar then created Gran Colombia, a vast republic that included modern Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, and Panama. However, political disagreements over centralization and regional autonomy led to the federation's collapse by 1830, ushering in decades of instability. The mid-20th century brought another period of turmoil known as La Violencia. Triggered by the 1948 assassination of reformist leader Jorge Eliezer Gaitán, the country descended into a decade of rural bloodshed that claimed hundreds of thousands of lives. In response, political elites formed the National Front Agreement, alternating power between liberal and conservative parties from 1958 to 1974. While this arrangement reduced partisan violence, it excluded other political movements and contributed to the rise of guerrilla groups. From the 1960s onward, Colombia became entangled in a prolonged internal armed conflict involving guerrilla organizations such as FARC and ELN, right-wing paramilitary groups, and the state. During the 1980s and 1990s, powerful drug cartels emerged, most notoriously under Pablo Escobar, whose campaign of violence challenged the authority of the government and brought global attention to Colombia's instability. Kidnappings, bombings, and assassinations became tragically common. In the 21st century, Colombia has worked to overcome decades of conflict. A landmark peace agreement was signed in 2016 between the government and FARC, significantly reducing armed violence. Although challenges remain, including drug trafficking, rural inequality, and political polarization, Colombia has emerged as one of Latin America's most dynamic economies and vibrant cultural centers. Its literature, music, and biodiversity contribute to a renewed global image. Colombia's history is ultimately one of contrast. Immense natural and cultural wealth alongside long periods of violence and division. Yet it is also a story of resilience. Through centuries of upheaval, Colombians have continually rebuilt their institutions, redefined their identity, and sought a more peaceful and inclusive future.